The floor is now Tony's and Brian's.
Thank you so much, Brandon. I'm so glad to be in DC. I am living in Chicago now, and my summer will be here with y'all. I'm so gloriously happy. I get to hang out with my mom, and also like see my old wonderful haunts in DC that still exist, the few that do, and then learn to love some new magical places that are here. But I just wanted to do a piece about like how I got here, right? So from the time that I was born in the DC that I grew up in, that no longer exists. Where I'm at. I'm teaching a class in Chicago and they say, how come you don't call this home after 15 years? And I say, because I ain't from no home. I am from a place that does not exist anymore. And this place that I live in won't exist soon. And so I am here now, forever, more. I'm from a place that in 1968 burned to the ground and stayed that way until finally businesses were able to build themselves up through the ashes, through the troubles, through the worries, through the pain, through the shame. I'm from a place that when I was born, oh my goodness, smoke. Smoke led to the ashes, led to the fertilization of what is now. And no one wants to see it now. They like to look at what's pretty now and act like this is all that it was supposed to be. But we had dreams in 1970. We had dreams in 1975. We had dreams that when we got our ability to vote, we were going to change all this for the better for us. We had a mayor that came and then left, and then another one that came and lasted for life. And he gave life to a place that we thought would never have it, brought government over to Anacostia, brought government to a place that if you had said you saw somebody's mama on, honey, you would take off your earrings, grease up your face, and be ready to call fight. Because they were calling your mama a whore. Now, if they say, I saw your mama on 14th Street, you say, was she buying a latte or a condo? Where I'm from doesn't exist. Horace and Dickey's shrimp boat, all in places where you wouldn't go at a certain time of night by yourself if you were a woman. These are places that are now beautiful, lovely, brand new, shiny, and in other people's eyes, wonderful. Yet I am full of wonder at how all of this happened so quickly while I was gone, while I was in this new place that no longer looks like the place I came to. It too has a new shiny building where there once was a homeless shelter. A new wonderful way of looking at downtown and hanging out at night in a place where you would not have been if you were alone and a woman. So yeah, I'm always from DC. But that place that I'm from doesn't exist. And I live in a place called Chicago. And I don't know where the hell that's going to be tomorrow.
Thank you, Toni, Brandon. Thanks everybody for coming out. American Poetry Museum, Sammy. And thanks to my brother, he's somewhere back there. Brother Mike, my daughter Lyric. And of course, my mother, Sitting sitting in the heat. So this is a poem. My book is called Come See About Me, Marvin, and it's published by Wayne State Press in Detroit. And it's all about moving from DC to the Midwest. So I'm going to read a poem from there. A lot of poems in the book are called Distant Lover. And if you buy a copy of the book, it's up for you to figure out who the distant lover is. Right?
Do you have any on you
What?
for sale?
Over there.
How much are they?
$20.
Only $20.
So, as you know, Distant Lover was one of Marvin Gaye's signature tunes. But this one is inspired by my mother on one of my trips home. And it's called Distant Lover number 3. Mural of Marvin eating mumbo sauce. Churches falling apart. Jesus on the cross. Broke streets with stumble bums waving at buses. People on board shouting about lack of justice. And my mom's back home making salmon cakes. Kids these days no longer carry rakes. Movies I see take too many takes. My mom's back home making salmon cakes. I work now up by the Great Lakes. Few up there are really fakes. For goodness sakes, the city where I was formed relies on these lies. Skies and French fries, pies, and those much needed highs. We baked the good in the city made of chocolate that was always darker, not lighter, and so much whiter. Just Ralph Ellison again, not visible. Invisible, not worried about being divisible. Back where it began, hidden slave march. Public schools full of someone else's art. So we created our own. Rototoms backing up like computer networks. They still rock beats, donning permanent smirks. Murals of Marvin eating mumbo sauce. Churches falling apart. Jesus on the cross. Broke streets with stumble bums waving at buses. People on board shouting about lack of justice. And my mom's back home making salmon cakes.
And so this place did not exist, right, when I was here, in the, was it 90s? We were all over there on, P Street in Georgetown at It's Your Mug. And that's where we met Brandon. Brandon was one of the first people to come to It's Your Mug, open mic poetry. And I believe he got to read, 12 poems in one night? 7? He had 12 to read and read 7 and realized, oh no, I need to write more. And that's that kind of place that it was. And over here, across the street, there was a spot that we used to hang out sometimes called Colonel Brooks Tavern. And I did many a writing workshop in there with a bottle of something, tasty. And so now to see this all built up, Sammy, I'm loving that you were able to put this spot here, right? And to bring us a piece of home in a place that really wasn't built for us. And so this is a marvelous thing. I'm so glad, right, to be able to be a part of this. And thank you all for coming on a hot day in the summertime as we open up the American Poetry Museum to live performance again. This is awesome. Yes, can we give a little clap for that? Alrighty, so as you can see, I'm reading from my little phone here. And we were just going back and forth now. I wanted us to do a little bit of DC first, and now we do a little bit of whatever we feel. Poem of today. This is how light and memory get captured. Aperture opens, takes in all that is reflected. Shadow and, if lucky, emotion take form. Once caustic chemicals and total darkness were needed. in order to be able to see what the photographer saw. Time used to take time to capture itself. Now, I am able to do what others had taken years to study on my phone. I can pick a filter and make you look like a Van der Zee goddess. I can pick a filter that would make Ansel Adams weep. And now all I do is pick up the phone, point, shoot, crop, filter, and boom. All that took so long to study, so long to make, happened so quickly. And why? Why do I wish I had learned the old ways and taken time with looking, cropping, developing, instead of taking the easy way, the new way? This is a poem of today about photographs of yesterday. Sorry if it sounded like today.
Thank you. This is from a new manuscript that I'm working on. And this is called Sterling Brown's House. Yes. As you all know, his house is just over the way there. On Kearney Street. And this is written in Sterling's voice. I came to live here in 35, like Hansberry's folks in Chi-Town. No bricks thrown through my windows, even though the WASP and Irish spell nigger with one G. What's a G between friends, they say. One trustworthy fool who drove by slow screamed, nigger, as loud as he could. Many put signs on their lawns or searched quickly for sundown towns that could remove the exotic from their memory. But count us in anyway. Count them out. And let it be declared that everyone did not succumb to the easy hate. Professors from the Catholic College down the road did not join the racial exodus. Hammond and Murdahl and Lomax came to drink bourbon from my pretty tall glasses. I play my 78s all night for them. Bessie and Ma Rainey and Louis Armstrong, they marvel at my book collections and the missing cracks and pops from my vinyl. When the whiskey begins to work like chicken soup for a head cold, the story of King Oliver dying broke, mopping floors in obscurity in Georgia always comes up, followed by my confident dismissal of Gone with the Wind as nothing more than the international jewel for black people. I could have written more, but there is more to this life than beats and rhymes. The incessant uneasiness of iambic ideology. There are the children. What shall become of us without sunflowers growing beautifully abundant in grassy fields? And someone to know Armstrong's West End blues like a recipe for cobbler that has been never written down. This is our strength, endurance. This is how we always overcome those demented screams from slow-moving cars.
And our friend, Ta-Nehisi Coates, is now the Sterling Brown Chair. Has a Sterling Brown Chair at Howard University. So, right, it took them a long time to give Sterling Brown that. So I'm glad that they finally acknowledged him. I always had a special place in my heart for Sterling Brown because he was actually there at Howard University when my mother was there. And she kept trying to get into one of his classes, but they were always full, even though she was a nutrition major. So that's the kind of love and man that he was. Can I have the bass player? There you go. Hey, darling.
Hey, boo.
So this is going to be a dancing groove. That's- right, so give me like a salsa, house, jazz. I mean, you know, I don't make it too hard, right? So this was about the days when I used to dance at the Roxy and Trax and the Black Hole, the Ibex, hanging out in Baltimore at the Paradox. I mean, you know, we used to have a great time just traveling the East Coast, going up to the Palladium up in New York, and right, the Red Parrot, Purple Parrot, I believe, and of course the Shelter. So give me something like the Palladium, I guess. So, you know, the internet be finding people for you that you weren't expecting to find. And they be remembering you when you ain't like that no more. And they be saying things, so you have to answer them. And so here's my answer. Oh dear, I break my body a new way every time I dance now. Once I was water, then I worked myself dry, smiled through the worst of times and raged on highways home. This body sang a wicked song of joy and trauma under the strobes and disco balls of New York clubs, Baltimore hole in the walls, Chicago's funkiest house spots, and DC's wild-ass go-go backyard parties. Honey, I booty bounced, you right, all the Freaknik day and night. And then I found a joint to quell all the munchies at spots on Peachtree Street, or was it Boulevard, or was it Lane? I can't recall which, but what I can tell you is my body flowed through clubs and streets like they were one and the same. You say you met me there once? Well, that was the time when my walk made men's hearts turn from hard as stone to putty in 5 steps or less. This was a body of water dripping with hope and sweat. Then professional life came and calcified what was once life. This hip that used to drop to an inch above the floor and then spring back up and gently place my leg on a tall man's shoulder remembers nothing of that. I am a mother of a bunch of kids I didn't birth, but whom I've had who've had me sit or stand for hours on end in their service. That, in turn, transforms synovial fluid into grimy dust. What was once a smooth move has transferred into a jerk and then a remembrance. This body has grown a body on top of it, inside of it. And even though she is taller than I am now, and I pushed that out 12 years ago, you would think it was yesterday. And it's not that I don't feel sexy anymore if you touch me. I just don't feel sexy anymore. Really. I mean, tell me, how many times has a quality man flirted with me in the last 15 years? Why do you think I got married? Why do you think I was happy in a long-distance relationship for 3 years? You remember seeing me dance once, 30 years ago, and it's been etched into your soul. Ain't nobody gonna see me dance today and have it stir them 30 years from now, except for the man that I'm with now. So, I'm glad that you contacted me, but I'll be contacting him later on today. Now, I do have a sister friend who has kept it all together. She can dance like we used to still, because she never had all the burdens that I have. Please, if you're still interested, I'll give you her number. Also, some new spots for y'all to dance in. But me, I'm fine, darling. Thanks for reaching out. You gave me a lot of good memories. Woo-hoo! What's your name? Pepe on bass.
This piece is called Detroit Airport, and it's a form called a sermon. This is like the first poem. It's about going out to Michigan for the first time. So it's written in the form of a minister, so to speak. When I came here for the very first time, when he came here, I said when I came here for the very first time, I thought of the death of Otis Redding. It was snowing. Wind was whipping through my body like needles into cloth. I say when I came here, when he came here, Otis Redding done come to mind. He went down in some plane that James Brown told him not to board. And you know, if James Brown say don't do it, that means don't do it. But angels must have been on my plane because it was snowing and the wind was blowing on the tarmac. Yes, in Romulus, Michigan. Like, you know, they call it the Detroit airport, but it is really in a city so far away you can't even see the giant GM building in Detroit. Romulus, that got something to do with Rome, I heard. And that is how far away you feel when you are at the Detroit airport, like you are in Rome. But the reason why I say angels was on my plane is because I was warm and calm as if my wife had a baby and the baby was in my arms and just fine. And even if you don't believe in angels, even if you don't believe in anything, still got to understand that Otis Redding was on my mind. He got on some small little plane one day in 1967 with almost all the members of the Barcade Band, and the plane crashed. Not far from here, in Lake Morona. There's a train. Wisconsin, foggy night, and they all died. But this wasn't no foggy night. This was snow and wind that felt like glass pricking my face. But I brushed it all aside like it was a bad dream that never started. And I still don't know why I had my mind on Otis, because really I wasn't thinking of Otis Redding or angels. I was thinking of my father, how he would be laughing right now, hearing about me on some small plane. He knows I was afraid of bicycles at first and roller coasters, even if he held my hand all the way, on a plane that took off from some town called Romulus. And then I tell you, I was doing crossword puzzles. My mother always does crossword puzzles because it is like meditation. So I did crossword puzzles as the plane took off, headed to Lansing, Michigan. It is cold as a walk-in freezer, but I feel warm as hot rolls out the oven. I am not me at all. I just walk out onto the tarmac and board the plane like I am a famous rhythm and blues singer, headed for his next show, like Otis. And I'm gonna make it to my next show. I got a few things to say. I used to tremble when I spoke in front of people, but after that ride on that small plane, I speak good now. No quiver in my voice. I just think of the snow and ice cold wind smacking my face. How I strutted with my bags. My heart didn't pound. My legs didn't shake like tambourines. Nothing got to me suddenly. I was as calm as that voice on shipping reports on the radio in England. That soft, precise sound, the smooth balm of human vocality, the majesty of believing at last in everything that ever was. The wonder of being completely content with yourself. The satisfaction of crossword puzzles, runways, no snack, because 10,000 feet is as high as we shall go, even though I feel as if I am in the clouds, holding hands with some angels who have been waiting to watch over me for all my natural life.
So when I got to Chicago, I thought, I understood cold. Yeah, no, you don't know what that is. And so I had come down the stairs real quick, and I opened the door, and somebody punched me in my face, and so I closed the door real quick. And the woman, behind me was like, "What's going on?" I said, "Somebody punched me in my face." And she opened the door, and nobody was there. And I said, "Well, maybe it was the wind." But I felt like I had been punched in the face. And I had never experienced such anger at weather. And so she said, "Well, first what you have to do," because it took my breath away. So you had to first put your scarf over your face, breathe in a few times to get warm, and then you go out, or you'll feel accosted by the wind and the cold. And so I did that. And I just remember thinking, like, all the things that you have to prepare for, that you aren't prepared for until somebody teaches you how to be prepared for it. And so my daughter got pneumonia at 2 months because I wasn't a good Chicago mom yet. I feel really bad about it, but she's fine now, but it was really scary. So anyway, preparing a little one to breathe. It is winter. It is the 6th winter of my daughter's life. She is looking at me and feeling lethargic. I am pushing her to perform a poem that she has written and we are supposed to do within the week. She coughs a little cough. I am not paying attention. She coughs another cough. I perk up, but only to let her know that she can push through it. And she does. We leave rehearsal. And thank God I have just been through pathophysiology, where they have taught me that when a child gets a divot in their throat when they're breathing, it is because they cannot breathe. I rush her to the hospital. And sure enough, it's an asthma attack. She is in oxygen tank world for 2 days. And I feel horrible, remembering that I made a promise when she was 2 months that we would not go through this again. Oh, how little we learn, how unprepared we are, even when we try sometimes. I mentioned these 2 incidents to her many years later. She says she remembers the second, of course, not the first, and she remembers that there were little fish on her mask, and that she liked the ice cream in the hospital. She does not remember the terror in my eyes. She does not remember the shame in my heart. And so I laugh with her and act as if it isn't there, as if it never was. And then I tell her, when you have a little one, I will prepare you better than I was prepared. And you too will laugh when your child remembers none of your faults.
I know that one. I got 3 daughters. All right, I'm gonna read a poem about DC, and this is a ghazal. Yay. And this is a poem inspired by Marion Barry. And the city, it's called District Building, Washington, D.C., A Short History. And it's dedicated to Maurice Williams. I don't know if you all know Maurice Williams, the WHUR reporter who was killed in the Hanafi Muslim takeover. So this is District Building, Washington, D.C., A Short History. And I had a summer job in me and my brother in the back, Mike, we had summer jobs at the district building. So we saw the whole crazy government as it was in the 70s. It was a fascinating time. But the guy that ran the copy room was named Richard. So that's why it's kind of like he inspired the poem as well. But it is a ghazal if you know that form. Richard, the copy man, wore leisure suits. Marion Barry pranced coolly through these halls. Richard was disabled, but that did not hold him back. Marion Barry working these halls treetop tall. Richard printed the laws for city strivers making worlds. Marion Barry was there, don't you recall? I ate lunch with older men who talk sex all the time. But Marion Barry's the one who had us in a thrall. One guy said he was gonna live off minerals in the air. Marion Barry radical walks tall, never will he fall. You see him crawl. Another brother said he had sex with half the women in the building. Marion Barry was sure he would never be very small. Muslim radicals would one day take over this place. Marion Barry, like everyone else, up against the wall. These Muslims said they know Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Marion Barry will one day be even larger than de Gaulle. They killed a young reporter and shot a few others. Marion Barry got filled with buckshot. He too took a fall. Ethelbert Miller say, one day that man will be mayor. If Marion Barry wins, a king we will install. All of this happened just steps from the great big mall. Marion Barry, as always, was ready to answer the call. Richard, the copy man, wore leisure suits. Marion Barry pranced coolly through these halls.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, it makes me so happy, right? So in 1968, Marion Barry was of course on the FBI's list, and he was hiding out in my parents' basement when I was born, so he became my de facto godfather, which has been very interesting, let's just put it that way, for my whole life. Oh, you remember the DC, when the kids took over the A building at Howard? So President Cheek called, the bomb squad, SWAT teams or whatever to get us out. And Marion Barry happened to go up in there because my father said, my daughter's up in there. He was like, Patricia? I'm sorry, that's my real name, don't tell nobody. And so he said, yeah. He said, oh no. So he goes in. I'd already snuck out because I had an exam and I couldn't miss the exam, my daddy said. But he didn't know that. And so he ends up cursing Cheeks out. And the only reason why we know that is because, well, at least the reason why we knew it with those who were inside was because we had a deaf girl inside and she translated word for word what Marion Barry said. And it was, I can't repeat it in mixed company, but needless to say, they didn't send the SWAT team in after. And Roz Baraka and April Silver, everybody up in there, it was awesome. And I'm so glad we have a better president now for Howard University. So I took jujitsu before the pandemia. And this is, I took several notes after different classes. And so this is week 5 note. Okay, so this is ridiculous. I come to this joint to teach my daughter discipline and stick-to-itiveness, and I use myself as an example. You know, just like I taught her, you can be horrible at something and still enjoy it by throwing gutter balls, when you're bowling, between strikes, you'll learn, you'll be able to be good, and you'll be fine. Yeah, I do the try your best, but if you're having fun with friends, then don't let not being the best ruin a great time routine. We're in community routine. So, I'm used to this in theory, but this time I really have done it. This isn't a random day or any time event that we're spending together. She and I are students. She is a level or so ahead of me. And so I am happy to be learning from her, to model the process of learning. Really though? If I had known that she was going to make me do 40 push-ups, I wouldn't have brought her here. And then she's going to make me do 70 squats. Not because, I can do them, which I can, but because, she just wants to push me like I've pushed her. And I'm doing it all with a smile. but daggers, honey, coming through my eyes. Oh, how friggin' awesome. Right? That's what I'm saying. And that child looks at me like she knows I'm lying all the way down to my bottom, which she says has to touch the floor with these last 3 squats. Oh, we gonna touch the floor all right, I tell her in my mind. Of course, my lips say, thank you, darling. I didn't know I could go so low. Look what I'm learning, how great you are. Ooh, but when I get her home, every dish in this house better be done. And that bed with all them little Dorito bags that she thinks I don't know about, ooh, that's gonna be clean. Oh, all of this, yes, sure, of course I can do sit-ups, even though she knows I call them spit-ups. How dare she make me do this? How many you say? Sure, I can do 40 for you. Three sets of 40? You do know that I went from a no pack to a 2-pack. I don't have a 6-pack. And she looks at me and says, you will by the time I'm done with you. And oh, I do it, but I'm mad. And she knows that my anger is what pushes me because it pushes her. And so we push each other. And so we push each other. And I finish all of it. And then we have a kicking contest. She doesn't know what I know of rhythm. She doesn't know what I know of squatting. She doesn't know what I know of kicking. And sure enough, I win. And she is mad. And I am happy. And this is how you realize what a petty mother you are. And we go home different, laughing, mad, but needless to say, both of us feeling good at the pain we've caused.
Okay, thanks again for everybody coming out. This is the last poem. I know it's a burning hot day, so we greatly appreciate it. And this is another DC poem, sort of. This is called Raisin in the Sun. And it's for Barack Obama, actually, who did come to live here, if you can believe that. I think he still lives here, huh?
In the hearts.
So this is called Raisin in the Sun. And it's written in the voice of Obama. I wasn't born in America. I was born in Hawaii. I am not really black. I didn't grow up around black people. I can't make sweet potato pie. I can't fry chicken. I can play basketball, but I don't have a crossover. I never read Jet or Ebony growing up. I never saw Soul Train or Sanford and Son either. Good Times is a disco song by Chic, but I never knew who Chic was either. Rumor is I dropped acid. Listened to the Eagles mostly, Hotel California, and Kiss. Painted my face white with stars. I rode a skateboard. I read Stephen King, not James Baldwin or Richard Wright. Martha's Vineyard, is that George Washington's old lady? The Underground Railroad was really underground. Dred Scott was a Rasta, right? Shut the hell up. My father left me. Went back home like he was Marcus Garvey or Du Bois or Carl Hansberry going to Mexico. He was from Chicago. He believed in it. Didn't want to eat his pulled pork on the south side only. They hit his daughter in the head with a brick. Broke his heart. Now we got to hear about it a few hundred times a year. Walter Younger, Walter Younger, Walter Younger. God damn. I wasn't born in America, but I live there now. People there hate me because I am black. Because I don't have a crossover and can't fry chicken. But mostly because I never come out anymore. I stay home, read essays by Baldwin, fiction by Richard Wright, watch Raisin in the Sun until my hair turns black. Thank you very much.
Sure will. Thank
I'd love to read it to Lou Berry.
you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Toni. Let's give him another round of applause. I should tell you that there's another shop that's open. It's right over there. It's called Bike Trash. Take a look.
I've known that girl since she was like yay big.
She takes bicycles and inner tubes and things and makes interesting stuff out of them. So go take a look. Also, July 25th, we'll have our next reading. It'll be Kenny Carroll and a protege of his will be reading. And just like I saw a young lady put something in the shine box. Uncover the shine box.